outline for my midterm. When you think of the word experiment, what do you really think about? Do you think about science class in elementary school when you get to experiment on light and the sun and the plants and what it requires? Or do you think about being experimented on as a human? Well, there was one experiment in the United States history that actually experimented on humans without consent. This experiment is called MK Ultra. Now I'm going to give you some background and history about it. According to history.com, this took place in the 1950s to 1960s. Now, the people that were behind this were the CIA, the person that created the idea for MK Ultra, and the pharmaceutical company. The person that asked the government to think about the idea was George Esterbrooks, and he was a hypnosis scientist. He created the theory that some people that had gone to the Soviet Union as a military officer and came back, and when they realized they didn't know what had actually happened over there, he believed that the Soviet Union was doing some kind of hypnotic therapy on them to where they would not remember what they had seen or done over there. Now, the CIA did not believe this. However, later on, events led them to believe it. So there was a pharmaceutical company that was selling drugs, calling Sanchoz Pharmaceuticals. It was a Swiss drug company. Now, they were selling LSD. According to HowStuffWorks.com, the United States wanted to get it out of the Soviet Union's hand. So they offered to buy all 40,000 vials of LSD, or pills of LSD. So after talking about a little bit of the history, we're going to take a look at the process of actually the MK Ultra program. Now, the main idea behind the MK Ultra program was to control the minds. And they did this by hypnosis, brainwashing, electric shock, and drugs. Now, the drugs they used were LSD and barbiturates and amphetamines. To look at the process of each and how they did it, we're going to look at them now. For drugs, they used drugs. Walking around through the office, people would casually slip LSD into cups so that they would be tested. Now, like I said, this is without human consent, so nobody actually knew this was going on. However, the CIA would walk around and the co-workers would do it to each other, and they would do it to other people as well. However, there was one incident that led to the program changing. And according to another website, they actually the VP of MK Ultra and the president of the MK Ultra program took a vial of liquor with them to Fort Detrick, Maryland. Now, they did not tell anybody that this liquor was actually dosed with LSD. So as they go around and everybody pours drinks, they're all getting part of the LSD drug in them. Well, this led one man, Frank Olson, to have a bad trip, as they called it. Now, he eventually, because of this trip they said he experienced schizophrenia and paranoia symptoms. Well, he eventually died because of it. They also, with brainwashing, they would take the prisoners that they had captured from previous war, and according to a PDF I found, they would sleep deprive them, they would hold them in solitary confinement, and eventually make them conform and torture them to making them believe one way. Now, the last way we're going to look at is the combined treatment for the process. And now this either has drugs or has brainwashing, electric shock, or one of them all combined. So for the first one, they combined, according to wanttoknow.com, they combined hypnotic and drugs with these young girls. Now these girls obviously being on hypnosis, did not know what they were doing and killed people. And they control their minds through the drugs and through the hypnotic as well. Now, there's a Dr. Cameron at the Allen Institute Memorial at McGill University in Montreal, Canada, that had already started testing on people. Now, according to a YouTube video that was done by the History Channel, this man did a way of hypnosis called depattering. And what depattering is when they wipe out all their memory and pattern them with new ones. And the way they would do this is by giving them people drugs to make them sleep. And while they were sleeping for days at a time, they would do electroshock therapy. Well, after all that would go through for months at a time, they would eventually become into a vegetable state person. And they would again redo the process over again. They would give them drugs and electroshock to help them repattern and learn new ways, eventually conforming them into a new person. Now, we ask ourselves, why would the United States do something like this? Well, the United States would do that because they wanted a new technology for war. They saw the Soviet Union as another powerhouse that they needed to be wary of. So they wanted to look at mind control for that. They wanted to look at it as a truth serum to get, people to tell them the truth that other companies or other countries could use against them and stuff like that. Now, we're going to look at the benefits from this program of MK Ultra. MK Ultra has, you might say, may have no benefits, but it actually does have some. Now, the first one we're going to look at is the ultimate protection. The United States wanted to create MK Ultra as a protection. They wanted to make sure that their soldiers knew that they could not commit treason. So they would wipe out any bad put them under the trance so they would not, for their mission. And the keyword would set them off and they would do their mission. And then that way, if they were captured, they would actually know nothing about it. It was for smarter intelligence. And that's the second one we're going to look at, smarter intelligence. It made the United States look better because we were smarter in our technological advances and in our war advances. Now, with this being said, we wanted to make sure that we protected our country, and we wanted to make sure we were wise enough in our country. So what we did with what this benefit would be for the smarter intelligence would be that we could give the soldiers the hypnotic, and if it had happened to them over in the Soviet Union, we could reverse it back to where they would forget what they had learned anywhere and use it there. So now that you've learned about the MK Ultra program, my question for you is, does the United States still test on humans? Maybe, maybe not, or maybe we just don't know, and that's one of the government secrets that they hold dear to them. This is the end of my informative speech.